Welcome to the Football Word. I am Doug Kai, joined as always by Zach Cox, and today we have Kevin Duffy from MassLive.com here with us. Kevin, you just returned from the Combine. How was it?
It was a lot of fun, Doug.
As always.
Yes. We saw the Patriots really focus, I think, on a few position groups. They talked a lot in what I gathered to a lot of tight ends, to a lot of edge rushers, which should come as no surprise because I think those are really the two of the biggest, most pressing needs and two areas they might address high in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. And in the Combine, tight ends definitely stood out quite a bit with their athleticism. Defensive ends, not quite as much, but it is still considered a pretty good draft class at that position, just with the amount of names that are in the first and second round. So definitely two positions I think the Patriots will be looking at once the draft rolls around.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I was most impressed with the tight ends. Obviously, as we're filming this, the defensive backs are running through their final day of drills. So someone in that group could kind of jump out as a real superstar. But yeah, I was very, very impressed with the tight ends. It was by far, I think, the deepest group of any of these groups at the Combine. You had the top, the projected first rounders, the O.J. Howard, David Njoku. But even as you went farther down that list, Evan Ingram from Ole Miss had a very, very good Combine. Bucky Hodges had a very good one. Even guys like George Kittle, who I hadn't really even heard of much, the guy from Iowa, he had some very good measurables. And then Adam Shaheen, the basic guy who's basically the size of a power forward. He had a pretty good Combine too, the Division II prospect out of Ashland. So I think from that group, for teams like the Patriots who are going to be looking for a tight end in this draft, they have to like what they saw.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are probably going to miss out on O.J. Howard and Njoku.
Yeah.
But there's guys, as Zach mentioned, Leggett from Clemson, to me was a really impressive prospect. He had a lot of production in college, and I know we in the media we're only interviewing him for 5 or 10 minutes, but you can gauge he seemed like a very mature guy, a guy who would do well in that 15-minute formal interview with the Patriots. Evan Ingram ran a 4.42 40, I believe it was. He's a little undersized. He's a move tight end. He's not quite like a Rob Gronkowski, but that's an absurd number for a tight end. And then Doug's favorite prospect, Adam Shaheen, the Chipotle prospect, he was asked how he went from a 210-pound basketball player in 3 years to a 277-pound tight end. Yeah. Really has a frame similar to Rob Gronkowski's. He was asked how he gained so much weight. He said, I ate a lot of Chipotle burritos.
It's a good way to gain weight, really.
I know, yeah. I mean,
Chipotle, Moe's, Qdoba, whatever your preference is.
I argued that Moe's would have been the better option. You get more food for your money at
Absolutely.
Moe's.
Yes.
Yeah. The one thing I would point out about this tight end group is that I was watching on the NFL Network work feed because Doug and I were not in Indianapolis. The one big thing that the announcers really stress in that is that a lot of these guys did not play inline tight end at all, really, in college. They basically didn't go down in a three-point stance in their entire 4-year career. So that is going to be something that they'll have to adjust to at the NFL level, especially with a team like the Patriots who ask their tight ends to do a fair share of blocking. So that's something to watch going in the pre-draft process.
Definitely, and as I said, I mean, the defensive end class is really considered one of the top groups in this draft. They weren't quite as impressive athletically, but there were some guys that really stood out. Jordan Willis from Kansas State had a pretty monster Combine. He really aced everything that he possibly could have. Myles Garrett really solidified himself as the number 1 overall pick. But some guys the Patriots could be interested in are Trey Hendrickson from Florida Atlantic, Solomon Thomas from Stanford, and one guy that I was really looking at was Tano Passano, I think is how you pronounce his name. It is spelled K-Passagnon, but Villanova guy. He's 6'7", 290 pounds, and he broad jumped 10'8", which is just freakish and ridiculous.
290 pounds.
290 pounds.
Boy.
Who were some of the defensive ends that the Patriots met with while they were at the
Patriots met with Taco Charlton of Michigan. Pretty much confirmed that he met with almost every team between the Senior Bowl and here. Taco Charlton, to me, athletically, he compares very favorably to Chandler Jones. Almost the exact same build, the exact same testing numbers. Good production in college. He's probably an end of the first round guy. Charles Harris of Missouri, the Patriots met with, a little bit stouter. He's 6'3", 255. He's not quite. Charlton's like a long, 6'6", 270, not quite built like him. The Patriots also met with Carl Lawson of Auburn, who I think is considered probably a second round pick. He had a great Combine too. Maybe he elevated himself into the early second round, late first round. 6'2", 261. He did 35 bench reps as an edge guy. So This is probably the deepest position in the draft,
Yep.
and it kind of is fortunate for the Patriots because if you look at their roster right now, it's probably their biggest need.
Yeah, it really is, because really all they have right there, we've discussed this before, is they've got Trey Flowers, they've got Rob Ninkovich, they've got Geno Grissom, and then you're looking at like Shea McClellan. So they should be looking for a starting defensive end either in the draft or free agency, because Rob Ninkovich could start left defensive end again, but he's getting up there in age. You really need that guy to be there for the future across from Trey Flowers at left defensive end moving forward.
I would agree, yeah, especially because Ninkovich didn't have his best season in 2016. He wasn't, I wouldn't call him a liability or anything, but he did miss the first 4 games with suspension. Even when he came back, he really wasn't as productive as he has been in recent years. So, yeah, outside of Trey Flowers, that's a definite need at that position.
Moving on the Combine, one of the biggest pieces of Patriots news was that they are interested in Brandon Cooks, and this comes as, I guess, a bit of a surprise. It was your company, I guess, Advanced Media, who broke the story.
Yep.
NOLA.com originally said that they offered the number 32 overall pick for Brandon Cooks. NFL Media's Ian Rappaport kind of, I guess, adjusted the report or confirmed the report that it was part of a package where the Patriots will also be getting draft picks back. So I guess the real question here is, would you trade the number 32 overall pick for Brandon Cooks?
Yeah, I think everyone was pretty surprised at the report, even though the Cooks rumors have been out there, like the Titans and the Eagles were rumored to be interested in Cooks. The way the Saints are leaking these rumors, it seems like he's probably going to get traded because you don't just leak those kind of rumors and then bring a guy back. He's probably not very content that those things are out there. Now, in terms of the Patriots, I think the 32 it's a tough one to part with because you have that player for 5 years. Right. And with Brandon Cooks, you have him for 1 more year in his rookie deal, then you exercise his 5th-year option, which is expensive, and then you're going to have to pay him a lot of money. The Patriots have gotten good production out of wide receivers, Wes Welker, Edelman, without paying that premium value. So Cooks would have to be different. Now, just because the Patriots did things one way in the past doesn't mean they're always going to do that. If Bill Belichick likes Brandon Cooks enough and he thinks that Julian Edelman's only going to sustain this level for maybe another year or two, that's such a critical part of their offense. They probably do need to find a eventual replacement for Julian Edelman. And Cooks isn't used exactly like him in the Saints offense, but physically he resembles Edelman. He could be used that way in the Patriots offense.
Would you give up the number 32 for Cooks?
I would not, no. I mean, for all the reasons that Kevin just pointed out, and the fact that wide receiver is not a big need on this team right now. They probably will. I can see them bringing in somebody, even if it's one of these kind of big name guys in free agency, if it's a Brandon Marshall or a Deshaun Jackson. I don't know if they will, but I could see that happening. But giving up the number 32 pick to do that, I like Cooks as a player. I think he would be fantastic in the Patriots system. They just have needs elsewhere. I don't think their 32 pick is best suited to use on a wide receiver where they already have pretty good depth at that position.
I agree with both of your points. I think I would give up the number 32 pick for him, though. I mean, he's a known commodity. You know what you're getting out of him. He's going to be a premier player. You probably only have him for 2 years, but I mean, he's a very talented player. We saw what he did to Malcolm Butler in the preseason, during training camp the last couple of years. I don't know. Like you said, it's not a position that they really need, but if you know that you're getting Brandon Cooks with that pick rather than who knows what they'll be getting out of the draft with the number 32 pick, 2 years of Brandon Cooks might be worth that number 32 pick. But I guess there's also the question of, I mean, obviously I trust your company's report on this. I trust Ian Rappaport, but there's also the element that Bill Belichick and Sean Payton are friends. And Bill Belichick could be doing Sean Payton a solid by saying, like, hey, say we offered the number 32 pick, and then that inclines other teams to possibly give up even more for him.
And there was the second part of that report was that they tried to trade the number 32 pick for him, and the Saints said no. So it sounds like they're wanting more than that.
Yeah,
that was a good point that you brought up because that crossed my mind too. I don't know if Belichick would go as far to, I mean, he wouldn't be initiating, maybe he'd just be okaying that they're perhaps just trying to milk a little bit more out of the Titans or the Eagles for Brandon Cooks. But I mean, we've heard Belichick rave about Cooks in the past when they've had joint practices and in the preseason game. I think there's certainly some degree of, I would imagine that there's some degree of interest there.
Yeah, I think there probably is, and I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. But these things usually don't leak out with the Patriots. Usually they kind of come by surprise. But who knows? It could still come about. Speaking of Brandon Cooks, our friend Tommy Curran of Comcast Sportsnet wrote in his column about Brandon Cooks that if the Patriots do trade away that number 32 pick, then they would need to find some way to recoup that first round pick. And the way to do that would be trading Jimmy Garoppolo, and he wrote, or Tom Brady. So that kind of made me raise my eyebrows a little bit of, is it actually possible that the Patriots do trade Tom Brady this offseason? And can't you just kind of picture you sitting around your computer at 5 p.m. on a Friday night, ready to go out, and then all of a sudden Adam Schefter tweets out that the Patriots have traded Tom Brady for 2 first-round picks?
And then I think for a second, wait, that's not the real Adam Schefter. And then, oh no, it is.
And then Ian Rappaport comes up, and then,
I mean, I didn't think it was beyond the realm of possibility that they would trade Brady at some point.
Right.
I don't know about this offseason. I don't think after the 28-2 regular season and the 466 yards in the Super Bowl that they would do that. But the longer they hold on to Jimmy Garoppolo, the more likely it is they're going to move on from Tom Brady at some point. So I think a lot of that has to do with, when they part with Garoppolo. Do they trade? If they don't trade Garoppolo this offseason, perhaps there's a succession plan in place for 2019 if they want to franchise Garoppolo again as a backup in 18. I don't know. That would be wild.
It would be wild.
Yeah, I mean, I would be flabbergasted if they did trade Tom Brady this offseason, especially, as you said, coming off the year that he has. Yeah. And the fact that he's really not shown any signs that he can't do it again in 2017. There is going to have to be a tough decision at some point, though. And it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be a decision that we haven't seen in this city in a very long time, when it gets to the point where either Tom Brady's not quite at his all-pro superstar MVP level, but Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I don't think that decision comes until next offseason at the very earliest.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't trade Tom Brady. I think that he's still considerably better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but Bill Belichick has a tendency to kind of trade guys when they're at that peak and then possibly starting to fall down. I guess falling down this rabbit hole a little bit further.
It's a fun one to fall down.
It is a fun one to fall down. It's probably not one that Patriots fans like to think about very much, but we're going to force it down their throats. What are the teams that Tom Brady would actually accept a trade to without saying, okay, I'm just going to retire? Mm-hmm. And would Tom Brady make some of those bottom-of-the-barrel teams like the Cleveland Browns, the Chicago Bears, the San Francisco 49ers, would he make them playoff contenders immediately? Because if he doesn't, then it doesn't make any sense for them to trade a first-round pick for him.
Yeah. I think the one team that would stand out that he would probably be open to going to would be the Houston Texans, just because the Texans have an excellent supporting cast. Yeah. They have a great defense. They have good skill players on offense. They just don't have a quarterback, and that's the only thing holding them. If the Texans had a QB, they probably would have beaten the Patriots in that playoff game. Would he make the Bears and Niners better? I mean, the Bears did fairly well on offense with Matt Barkley at times this year, so possibly. The Niners have nothing anywhere, so they're probably a few years away. I mean, imagining Tom Brady and the Browns, I don't
think anyone really wants to picture that. No, that's not a very fun one.
It's hard to envision that he would lead the Browns to like an 11-5 record, isn't it? As good as he is.
It is very difficult. Yeah. I like the Texans just because also the fact they have about a dozen Patriots alumni on that team with
he knows
Bill
the
Ryan
offense.
And he does know the offense. Obviously, San Francisco, maybe he'd want to do the hometown team at the end of his career. Yeah. And one thing, if we ever reach this point where the Patriots do want to trade Tom Brady, is he competitive enough to want to go somewhere, to do like the reverse Durant? Not go somewhere where you're automatically in a situation where you're going to win a title, but where you're like, I can take this team and turn them into champions. I don't know. He's got that. He's a little tapped up there. He's got that competitive mindset.
Well, I think he would be wildly disrespected if he was traded, and depending on how old he was at that stage. Say he gets traded when he's 40 years old and he still thinks he has 3 or 4 years left. Yeah, I bet he would be like, okay, well, I'm going to show them that I can win with the Browns, and I will go 11-5.
If this eventually happens, I feel like it would cause a divide among Patriots fans. The ones who follow Tom Brady to whatever team he were proposing he would get traded to, and those that would stick with the Patriots. I think that it would be quite interesting. One final thing was that Bill Belichick surprised a lot of people during the Combine by jumping on a headset and talking to Willie McGinnis halfway through the broadcast. It's really something that only Bill Belichick would do, even though he's kind of the last person that you would expect to do it. He just went out and Seeked isn't the right word. Sought. I'm bad at that one. He sought Mike Mayock and just wanted to talk to his buddies out there. It's only Belichick.
That was a strange sight, I guess.
Yeah.
He gets up there, puts on the headset, and he's like, haven't been in the press box since 1996.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's enjoying his off season.
I think he is, yeah.
You know, he was at the Celtics game on Wednesday night before he went down to the Combine and yucking it up with the Globetrotters. I mean, you've won 7 Super Bowls in your career, and this one has just the way that game played out and how far down they were, just that one's got to, he must still be feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, he seems like he's definitely in a good mood. He was wearing his 6 rings shirt around around Indianapolis and everything. He must not have updated the he updated the boat. He must not have updated the sweatshirt yet.
Yeah.
But it was funny. You just see him pop the headset on. And he's like, "Hey Willie," and they just kind of like have awkward conversation for about 15 seconds. It's like, all right, guys.
The end of the video was my favorite because they're all laughing for like 10 seconds. Then there's just like a 5-second pause, and the announcers are like, "Okay, I guess we're done."
It's kind of a cocky move to wear the 6 rings sweatshirt when you know that you have 7 rings. Also, he kind of knows that everyone knows that he has 7 rings, but he's still wearing the old 6 rings one.
He just wants to get asked about it.
Yeah, it's a good move for him. I guess one final thing before we go. Patriots have a ton of cap room. Free agency is starting on Thursday at 4 p.m. We were just talking about this. Probably not a great chance that they bring in one of those high-price free agents. So we probably see them use most of their money when free agency starts on their own players if they can get them to re-sign. Otherwise, I don't know what the hell they do with this $60 million. It's pretty much anyone's guess.
Right. This is a different. So the Patriots' MO in free agency is they never spend a lot at all. Like last year, they passed on a lot of the high-priced receivers, Marvin Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and I think Patriots fans were kind of freaking out at that point. And then they get Chris Hogan for about half the guaranteed money, who ends up being just as good as those guys. But last year, they didn't have a ton to work with financially. I think the same case in 2014. They didn't have a ton of money. They have $60 million this year. Yeah. As Doug said, you scan the list of free agents. There's nobody that jumps out as a guy the Patriots are going to. Right. Are they going to give a ton of money to Alshon Jeffrey, to Dontario Poe, to Calais Campbell? Probably not. I think they're going to use most of their money to retain Dante Hightower. I mean, Logan Ryan's going to be expensive, but they have $60 million to work with. Yeah. So those are the best players. I mean, 4 of the top 20 free agents are Patriots. Yep. Yeah. So you might as well use that money to retain your guys.
Yeah, I just published a list of my top 25 free agents, which you can read on Nesson.com. Shameless plug. But outside of their own players, I mean, Dante Hightower was the top of the list for me, and I also had Bennett, Ryan, and Alan Branch on there. I can see them trying to retain all 4 of those, but there's nobody else on the list that I look at and they'd say, they're going to overpay for this guy. I can see them just going out and seeking him. I mean, maybe if some of the guys some of the older guys are willing to take kind of discounted deals to come to New England, I could see it happening. Yeah. But I don't see them breaking the bank for anybody really outside of Hightower, honestly.
One interesting thing, just before we go, we did talk about Brandon Cooks. Perhaps they could trade for Brandon Cooks and then extend him, use some of that cap room to extend the contract early rather than to have to wait until 2018 or 2019. Guess we'll see what happens, but it will be a very exciting few days here. The NFL really kind of messed with us by putting the Combine and free agency right up next to each other. So it will be a busy few days here, but that will do it here for the Football Word. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me.
And we will be back on Thursday after free agency has begun.